Welcome to the Peep Show podcast.
News and stories from the sex industry.
With Jesse and PJ Sage. Welcome back to another episode of the Peep Show podcast. We are so happy to be back after a long hiatus. We have missed you all. Today, we're going to bring you the final interviews from the Woodhull Sexual Freedom Summit, recorded late summer of 2019 before our personal lives were uprooted by cancer and the rest of the world was disrupted by COVID-19. We bring you interviews with Ashley Fires, Princess Dandy, and Alex Moore, all coming from different sectors of the sex industry.
This episode of the Peep Show podcast is sponsored by Quick and Dirty Media.
Are you an independent content creator, webcam model, or clip maker? Quick and Dirty Media can help you with your video editing and production needs at a reasonable price, allowing you to devote more time to creating your content. As a special offer for Peep Show podcast listeners, the first 5 content creators who submit a video for editing will receive their first order free. Make sure to use the promo code PeepShowPod. Find Quick and Dirty Media on Twitter at QuickDirtyMedia or send an email to info@quickanddirtymedia.com. Quick and Dirty Media is proud to be an adult-friendly business.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Peep Show podcast.
Welcome.
It's been a long time.
So long. It's been 6 months.
Yeah, and for good reason. We had to take a hiatus. Unfortunately, my cancer returned, and I went through chemotherapy and a major surgery, and I needed a lot of time to recover. But things are looking up. I'm feeling a lot better.
You have hair.
I have hair again, and I've returned to the studio.
Yeah.
I'm able to sit at a desk.
I mean, that was one of the things is you couldn't work. You couldn't sit at a desk long enough to edit the podcast.
Yeah, it was just, it's hard for me to do any work. And so we had to put the podcast on pause, and also a lot of the other things in our lives on pause. But thankfully, we got through it, and we are back.
Yeah, you should also tell them that you have no cancer in your body.
Yes, what she said. I have my oncologist tells me that I am cancer-free, so they're going to keep checking. But fingers crossed. They believe that we've gotten through this.
Yeah, they almost wiped you out, but they got the cancer instead, so that's good. We have a lot of new ideas and new episodes planned for you. And we are launching a whole new website, in fact. And we're going to feature some writing and some other content that is connected to the podcast. So stay tuned for more info on that. Yeah, we're really excited. We are going to make the podcast and everything associated with the podcast bigger and better than it was before. So we are back. But we wanted to make sure to put out the interviews that we prepared before PJ got sick. Yeah, my cancer came as a big shock, and even as I was getting ready for chemotherapy, we thought maybe we could squeeze in a few more episodes before I got too sick. Yeah, that was so naive and optimistic. It was funny. So we recorded an intro to this episode in November, right before he started chemo, because the week he started chemo, actually, because we're like, that's okay. We'll just record this intro. And as soon as, he comes back from the hospital, we'll put the episode together. We had no idea that he was going to get really, really sick and that wasn't going to happen. Yeah, and so it really took over our lives for a while. It does mean that the episode that we have for you today is a bit of a time capsule. All of this content was recorded in fall of 2019. We just never got around to releasing it. Yeah, and we considered, not using the intro that we recorded in November, but it really tells us a lot about what was going on in our life in the fall, right before he started chemo. So we decided that we wanted to share it with you. Yeah, exactly. So without further ado, we take you back to fall 2019. Is there music for Back to the Past? You know what?
I can make that happen.
All right. Thank you for being back with us. We're very happy to be here.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Peep Show podcast.
Welcome.
It has been a long time, and we are sorry for that.
Yeah, last time we did this, you were in Australia.
I guess I was. I forgot about that. Oh my gosh, it's been so long. We have good reasons. Our lives have been...
total chaos.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's one way to put it.
Okay, what's your way to put it?
I was going to say eventful and a bit of a struggle as of late.
Yeah. What do you want to tell them what's going on?
Well, for one, I mean, a tree fell on our house.
Oh, yeah. I almost forgot about that. It seems like so trivial. Yeah.
I know, compared to all... I mean, you would think that in and of itself would be like a reason to have not gotten the podcast out.
Yeah, a tree literally fell like on our house and took down all of our electrical. We were displaced from our house.
For 4 days.
Yeah, it was an adventure.
Our house was built in 1935, and when the tree hit the power lines, they had to take our house off the grid, and so they had to update all the electrical.
It cost $6,000.
Yeah.
$6,000. I mean, we didn't pay for it. Our insurance paid for it, but that's how much they had to do.
It was
to
an
fix
act
our
of
house.
God, thankfully. So. And then it turns out, unfortunately, I've been having some pain in my side, and I have had like 4 or 5 colds this fall, and I just felt really not right. So I went to my doctor and I asked if they could kind of expedite one of my scans that I get regularly because I had testicular cancer 4 years ago.
Yeah, 4 years ago.
And I got my scan, and unfortunately, when I got the results back, I found out that the cancer had returned and had spread to my abdomen. So they told me that I needed to start chemotherapy right away. I just got a surgery to have a port put in today, so I could do that. And well, you know, obviously that upended our lives, and we had to kind of put everything else on hold for a while in order to deal with that.
The long and the short of that is that we're going to have to cut out a lot of our work in order to manage PJ's chemo, and he's actually going to have a surgery after that too. So
and it's a pretty invasive surgery. Yeah,
so we're going to put the podcast on hold for a couple of months
but not forever. We'll be back.
We will be back for a couple of months just to kind of get our life back on track. We unfortunately have to cut out the work that isn't, the paid work, and do just kind of the minimum amount of work that we need to do to get by while he's going through chemo and his surgery. So,
and we also just wanted you all to know what's going on. We didn't want to just ghost everybody. We've really appreciated all of your support over the past couple years. It's meant so much to us not only to have you as listeners, but also, we've appreciated hearing from so many of you over the last 2 years about your own stories and about the different interviews that have resonated with you. And that's really what's kept us going. And it's certainly going to keep me going through this chemo. It's sad for us to have to put this on hold, but I'm also really grateful that we've had the opportunity to do this work over the
last couple of years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And for all the support that you've shown us throughout the process.
Yeah. In the meantime, we have a couple of other things going on. Right now, we actually have Vice in our studio.
Literally right now. They're actually here with cameras taping us while we talk to you.
Yeah. So we're participating in a documentary about, our work and being part of the sex industry. So they are here. That's fun. I actually sat on a chair for 3 hours today and had PJ videotape my butt.
Oh, give me a break. It was 1 hour.
It felt like 3 hours. So we did a little scene for the documentary and an interview, and it was really fun. So that's going to come out. It'll come out before we're back as the podcast.
So once again, thank you all for the support that you've shown us over the past couple years. we're just going to go ahead and jump into our interviews. We've got a series of interviews with different sex workers who attended the Woodhull Freedom Summit and also the SWOP workshop beforehand.
Yeah.
Was it called?
Yeah.
And we wanted to share their stories with you.
All right, let's get to it.
Thanks for joining us today. Jesse and I are dedicated to platforming sex worker voices and covering important political issues for those in the sex trades. But we can't do it without your help.
If you believe in our mission, find us at patreon.com/peepshowpodcast and show us some love.
We're also seeking advertisers to help us grow. Thanks for helping us make Peep Show happen. All right, so we are at Woodhull.
We're at Woodhull, and today we met for the first time, Ashley Fire and Dandy, and we're going to just chat with them and find out about their experience here. So do you guys want to give a little bit of an intro on yourselves?
Hi, I'm Ashley Fires, 16-year adult performer veteran and activist now for about a year. It's my first Woodhull experience, and I was lucky enough to bring some lovely advocates with me. Through the generosity of allies, and it's been really interesting. The sessions, seminars, whatever you want to call them, that we've sat in on have been highly informative. But any convention, I feel like the real work or network gets done outside of these seminars. If you're if you're just walking around and you're like, hey, what's up? What do? You just happen upon these connections that lead to amazing things. Yeah. That's what I love about conventions. And this is the first convention in about 13 years I've been excited to attend. So I'm happy to be here. Yeah.
What made you excited to come to this one?
I knew that there would be people that I knew, but I also knew that there would be people that I was supposed to know. Mm-hmm. And I knew I could learn. Where every other adult convention, I'm like, I'm going to see the same fans. I'm going to see the same bitches. Like, you know what I mean? This was like, I'm excited to learn. I felt like it was the first day of school for me.
That's so cute. Dandy, what about you?
I feel entirely the same way. So my name is Dandy, also known as Princess Dandy. I am a pro dominatrix, and I run a dungeon in New Hampshire. And I'm kind of new to this whole advocacy world, and I'm really excited to be here. And literally every single person I've met here has fascinated me. I did not expect that, and that sounds bad, but every single person I've met, I was just like, wow, I need to know you. Like, I need to know everything. This is amazing. And so it's enlightening to be here. It's incredible.
Just to add, we're here on behalf of SWOP Sex Workers Outreach Project, and we are the New Hampshire branch. And, we're a small state, but we're looking to expand and kind of open to all of New England. Mm-hmm. Get at us, wink, wink, at SWOP New Hampshire.
That's good. So, Dandy, how long have you been a dominatrix?
I have been a pro dom for a little over 10 years, and I've loved it. I've been in my own dungeon for about 6 years now. So,
such a great space. I just want to add that Dandy's Playroom is probably one of the coolest dungeons I've had the privilege of being in and working in and chilling in and living in for a minute.
So both of you are kind of established industry veterans. One thing I would be interested to hear from you both is how you think the industry has changed in the time that you've been part of it.
Okay, so let's talk past Sesta Fosta, right? That's the biggest, most recent change that turned sex workers into victims and or criminals, right? Under the eyes of the law, basically, we are categorized as victims or traffickers, and I don't want to be either. So that changed a lot of things, and most recently I realized that shadow banning and social media, their take on sex workers and how we are not as important as other people. We are not, we have no rights within social media. We are lacking support completely. I've lost my Instagram 3 times. No big deal, because I'm not a protected person. I'm not a protected person under the law. Like, being a sex worker, you have no protection You have no rights. Whether you are doing legal or illegal sex work, you have no rights. You're automatically a marginalized person, especially in social media. And you know what's funny? We were sitting there earlier today. We were sitting in a session, if we're calling them sessions. I mean, I call
kind of session.
Yeah, I usually refer to a session as something else. But yeah, so we're sitting in this seminar, if you will, Jessica Drake, Nina Hartley, and I'm like, I know you. What's your name? Yeah. Sabio Textual. I know you. I think I follow you. Do I follow you? And we follow each other, but yet we couldn't even find that on Twitter.
Yeah.
It's just that shadow banning.
Exactly. Those are the most immediate threats. And there's also like this, oh, well, you don't have any rights, and I'm a entitled client. I'm going to capitalize on that. Yeah. I've seen it firsthand. And it's becoming more dangerous as we go on.
And unfortunately, when Sesta Fosta happened, that they basically took the kitchen away from the cooks. We had no place to work. We had no place to go. There's no way to sell what we were selling, to post about our services. So what do? We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter saying, hey, I'm still here. I'm still working. Come have some fun. And now we can't do that. We can't do anything. And, any other type of work can do that. You've got gun shops, you've got whatever, we all love marijuana. There's marijuana farms on Instagram doing what they want to do, and sex workers, you just say, hey, I'm a cam girl, you're gone. Absolutely. And that's how it is now. That's how it's changed. And unfortunately, we do need the internet. We need the internet for this kind of work because otherwise it's entirely unsafe.
Yeah, and not just to find clients, but to find each other and to disseminate information about who's safe and who's not safe and what kind of practices you should be doing. And I mean, I think it's not just about advertising. I mean, it is that, but it's also about community and how our communities are being decimated.
But what's happening to our community, what I'm seeing also, it's become more of a competitive marketplace. So then the hierarchy comes into play. You have these providers or these whatever DOMs or whoever. You have these service providers that are now bashing and shaming other service providers because it's such a cutthroat competitive marketplace. So I feel like not only do we have to deal with the stigma and the shame from everyone else in society, we also have to deal with that within our community. And it's getting uglier day by day.
Way worse. And I am a pro dom, like I said. So like I witness this all the time. I meet other doms and I instantly have to just leave the conversation with them. I want to work with them. I can't because they go, oh, well, I would want to work with this lady, but she's an escort or she offers this or this girl does webcam or she's not a real dom. And it's like, come on. Yeah. Like we're all in this together. We're all marginalized. We're all in trouble right now. Like the ground has broken beneath us and we all need to work together, hold hands and get through this because nobody's doing that.
I'm snapping over here. Yes.
I'm down with snapping. I like it. So can you tell us what your favorite part of Woodhull's been so far?
Yes, absolutely. My favorite part, hi, I'm Ashley, and my favorite part of Woodhull has been the fact that you can have childcare. I don't have children, but if I did have a child, I could have brought my child here to be watched and cared for while I was off learning and networking. That blows my mind. And we need to incorporate, right?
Yeah.
We have to incorporate childcare more. Mm-hmm. I mean, okay, so that's one of the things with SWOP. Yeah. Transportation, childcare. I thought that yesterday when the Black trans sex workers were saying, you don't see us and we don't get paid like you do and our life experience is so different from yours. Yeah, that touched me. Like it got to me. It made me feel something. And not like I'm normally numb, but I felt it. I felt it so hard. I started crying. And then today, my second favorite was the senior sex. Because we're all going to... Yeah. You were there? Yes, yes.
So good.
Wasn't that good? Yeah. I mean, okay, I didn't expect it to be so hardcore, but I was like, yeah, oddly aroused. And...
Right? Yeah. Well, I was like, this is so romantic. Like, there was something about it that I, loved. I texted him and he was sitting behind me and I was like, this is so sweet. And he did not respond because I'm the romantic one. But
hey, we're all gonna
Oh wow, called out.
Yeah, you totally got called out. But we're all gonna get old. Yeah. You know that, right? Like we're all gonna get old.
And we all hope we can get old like they did. And just stay kinky and stay filthy and they're so beautiful together. The way they look at each other, the way they touch each other, like 100% into each other. That's my favorite part. That and getting yelled at by a lot of people in the panels and being like, oh, this makes sense. I don't get to hear these things as a white girl from New Hampshire. There's no diversity there. Nobody puts that. We never get called out, and we need to. We all need to be called out right now, and it's very important right now. And we just don't get any of that information thrown in our face because we don't get to talk to the people who should be saying it to us. So that's one of my favorite things about this.
So what's your favorite part
of all this? I mean, I should be saying something like more about advocacy, but really the senior sex was hot. So, yeah.
And for the record, I thought it was great. I just didn't text you back.
Well, okay, wait. And for the record, you guys are sitting next to each other and texting. That's kind of romantic too. Yeah. Okay. So.
I mean, I got the DVD and I'm going to watch it tonight because they showed us a teaser, but I want to see the rest of it.
But you also have like, older clientele, right? Like you have a senior clientele, so that makes sense.
I do. I have you know what? Lately, actually, we'll talk about change. Lately, I've been getting a lot of younger clients. In the past 4 years, as everything has been progressing, I've been getting 18-year-olds like crazy. It's scary because then they're like, "Oh, you're the older woman." I'm like, "I'm 28," but yeah, like you're right.
You know what I get all the time? They're like, "I'm in my 20s and I've been watching you since I was 12," and I'm like, "Whoa."
Yeah, hey now.
Hey, yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of turned on by that, but not. I mean, I don't know.
I had somebody on Twitter the other day who DM'd me, and he was like, how much do you make as a phone sex operator? And I was like, how much do you make in your job? And then he was like, I don't have a job, which made me be like, I don't want to talk to you. Like, why should I talk to you? I think you have no money. And then I didn't respond. And then he responded with, I'm not old enough to have a job. And then I was like, block.
I was like, because you don't know who your fans. You have no idea who your fans are. And if they're underage, I'm like, please unfollow. Please stop.
I get these 17-year-olds who message me or they email me and they're like, hey, my birthday's coming up in a month. I'd like to book a birthday session. And I'm just like, I can't talk to you until then. Like, I literally cannot talk to you. I'm sorry. And I feel bad. I'm ruining their birthday. But come back in a month. It's so strange. But it's good that the younger crowd are getting into this stuff and they're getting educated on it. And, we didn't have that at all.
Here's the thing. So there's an obligation as a porn star or a dom or whatever you want, a sex worker. We have an obligation to teach these young people, but at the same time, I'm like, oh God, you're undeveloped brain. Go away. So where's the fine line? And at what age do you accept them? Yeah, legal age of consent or whatever. That varies between states, right? So they're learning from us. Yeah. This is how they learn consent. This is how they learn sex. This is how they learn how to be accepted into a sexual realm. And I feel guilty. I feel bad blocking them. I do.
It's like saying no to, sex ed. Sex ed is very, very important. Are we qualified to teach these people this? Totally. Who's going to say that, though? Right. And it sucks because, when we turn them down, they're going to go to somebody who is less educated. They're going to go to somebody who cares less about consent, and they're going to learn the wrong things. But we live in a world where we had to protect our asses.
Right. And that gym teacher that they learned abstinence only from is less qualified than anyone in this conversation to teach sex ed, right? But that's it. That's what they get. And so part of this problem is just that the system is failing all these kids. And so who do they have to turn to?
The parents. Yeah. The parents are not talking to their kids about sex.
The internet is where they're learning it from. The internet is how they find us,
Right. Guess who's on the internet? It's us. At least until they shut down our accounts.
And until the next time.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you guys want to bring up before you pee?
I gotta pee. And if you want some of that, hit me up.
Okay. Where can people find you?
On Twitter, I'm at Ashley Fires. And right now I'm trying to get my Instagram back, which was Ashley Fires Officially. Ashley Fires Officially. I'm hoping to get that one back, but if not, I will announce on my Twitter, which is just Ashley Fires, capital A, capital F, Ashley Fires on Twitter. I tend to respond to that mostly. You can find me on Clips for Sale. You can find me at swopnewhampshire.org. I respond to those things, trying to keep it simple.
I'm also on Twitter and Instagram. My Twitter is Dandy's Playroom, and my Instagram is Fetish Princess Dandy. So find me on there, hit me up, let's talk.
Great.
now is a good time to hit the pause button and head over to our Patreon at patreon.com/peepshowpodcast. Even $1 a month shows us that you care and want to see Peep Show continue to thrive. Also, you can help increase our reach with a review on iTunes. One of the unique things about Woodhull this year is that they partnered with SWOP USA, so the Sex Worker Outreach Project. And the first day of the conference, there was a SWOP Institute, but also one of the things that SWOP did is bring its own people here as speakers and presenters, but also they provided scholarships to 10 people. And we have one of the scholarship recipients here, Alex Moore, and we want to talk to her a little bit about why she came out and what she had to do to get one of the scholarships. So if you could introduce yourself, that would be great.
Yay! I'm happy to be here at Woodhull, and I'm very, very grateful to be a scholarship recipient. So what I did was I actually just follow SWOP online because I'm interested in sex work and advocacy, and I just happened to scroll past the fact that there was a scholarship for a summit, and I had this is my first time being at the summit. I had no idea what it was, what it entailed. I applied, and part of the application process, they ask questions to try to give the scholarship to the best fit people. So it does ask, have you been dealt with the criminalization part of sex work? So I have been arrested for solicitation of prostitution, and I'm currently on a diversion program for that. So that was one of the reasons I think why they were interested in having me, because I have had that experience. And then the other things that they ask are are you a person of color? My answer is that I'm white and Latina, so that also checks another box. And then, are you interested in advocacy? I honestly didn't think that I would get it. I was so excited when I got the email 3 weeks later. I was freaking out. I was telling everybody. I posted it on my personal Facebook. I posted it on my work Twitter. I told all my best friends and coworkers. And yeah, I was super excited. And yeah, I'm just really happy to be here. My brain hurts. I learned a lot. I met a lot of amazing people, a lot of connections. I wish I would have made more connections. I was so focused on learning that I actually didn't get as much social media or emails as I wanted. But this has also showed me that I definitely want to come back next year. And if I need to save money to do that, or perhaps by chance win a scholarship again, let's try to do that. But yeah, that's me at Woodhull.
Are you involved in a SWOP chapter? Is there any SWOP organizations where you live?
So actually, I am not involved as a part of a board or a part of a chapter per se, but when I got arrested, I actually called SWOP Behind Bars and was I need help. What do I do? And they referred me to a great lawyer who actually gave me the best advice that I could have received, which is, you actually don't need my services. I don't want you to pay out of pocket for something that a public defender in this specific case can do just as well for you, because you honestly don't really have a case. You're kind of fucked. You're kind of screwed, girl. So that was really good advice, and I didn't have to pay him money for that advice. He listened to my case. He talked to me on the phone. He said, if you need anything at all, let me know. And there was I think I called him for another reason at another point later, and he gave me also free advice. Advocacy has actually helped me. But I do eventually want to continue in advocacy with sex work. That's one of my main goals. I used to be a social worker. So to eventually mix sex work full-time with advocacy full-time is my long-term goal. So to just be even in contact with them, even if it's in that way, is really beneficial for my future.
So what does the diversion program look like in your jurisdiction?
Yeah, so the diversion program is you cannot have any ads up whatsoever for the full calendar year from the time that you basically take the plea agreement to when they deem the year is over. And then you can't get busted again, obviously. And then the third thing is that you have to go to these classes. I actually haven't been to the classes yet because I'm a procrastinator. And so I haven't signed up for them yet. My classes were given out in June, I believe. So it's been 2 months that I haven't attended them. So when I get back this next week to LA, I'm going to start attending and see what the dates and classes are. So I can't, unfortunately, give you any insight as to what the classes are like. But I have heard from other people that it's basically a bunch of Christian people yelling at you for being a trashy whore.
So one of the reasons that we wanted to talk to you too is that you work at the Bunnyranch, and I actually didn't know about the diversion program. They don't tell you that you're not allowed to do that?
So I'm really lucky. I was very honest with them, and I said, look, I got busted. One of the reasons why I'm coming to the ranch is because I have to work legally, and I want to work legally. I worked at the Alien Cat House for 3 months also before then. It's about an hour and 10 minutes from Vegas near Pahrump. So I actually started out in the brothel work there, and then they were like, oh my God, it's going to be super slow in the summer. You better figure something out. And I was like, okay. So I applied for the Bunnyranch. Actually, I initially applied for Love Ranch, which is like a smaller subsidiary of the same owner. And I got the email back, and they were like, no, we want you at Bunny. And I was like, oh, that's great. Okay. Because, Bunny is more prestigious. Mm-hmm. Yes, it's like the more famous one. Like, so like if you're a bunny girl, you're like the it girl. Okay. So I was like really taken aback by their response, because I thought they would just throw me at Love and like I would just make some money and have some fun. So they were okay with the fact that I had been arrested. So in order to get your sheriff's card to work at a brothel, you have to give them your full background in terms of like your fingerprints, your arrest records, your any of that. So like they knew that I had been busted, and that clearly wasn't an issue because they're totally okay with me being there. And I think it makes sense for them to want me to be there, because like if you're going to get mad at someone for doing something illegally but then not give them the opportunity to do it legally, that's kind of dumb.
I mean, it wouldn't be the first time that the legal system was confusing and ass backwards, but it's good that it isn't in this case.
That's very fair.
You said you've only been there a couple months. Tell us what that experience is like there, what it's like to work in a brothel.
So the interesting thing is when you're doing independent work, so I've heard, you don't really have the opportunity to really negotiate your experience with them. You discuss your basic price and your basic activity, and then you meet with the client and you do that basic price and do that basic activity. If when they get there, if there's more negotiations, obviously that's okay, because like it's your body and you guys decide what you want to do with it. But this is obviously all from what I've heard about independent work. I can't confirm or deny that I have ever done independent work. But the Bunnyranch, it's like literally like you're negotiating every second of their experience. Oh. You're creating an experience for these clients in that like you're explaining, oh my God, like this is all the things that we can do together. And let's like explore this. Like what turns you on? What makes you happy? Do you like kissing? Do you like the porn star experience? You get really into the nitty gritty, because it depends on what they want, on what your pricing is, number one. Wow. And number two, it also depends on what you're capable or want to do. So like there are girls that don't offer kissing because that's not something that's, they don't want to do with their body. And there's other girls that they don't let other people lick their pussy because that's more intimate to them. Mm-hmm. So like, we discuss every single detail, and that gets me an idea of like what's going to make this guy happy, and he's going to be walking out the door feeling like he had the best experience there possible, rather than just like wham bam thank you ma'am. Right. Mm-hmm. The negotiation part is a huge skill that I'm learning.
What do you think? That's really interesting to me. So what do you think that the Bunnyranch does, or any of the brothels do, to kind of create that culture of negotiation there? How do the clients come in knowing that they're going to negotiate all of those details down?
So people that are brand new to the Bunnyranch have no fucking idea when they walk in the door, and they're a little bit intimidated, and they're like, why should this bitch ask me all these questions? But like, that's the point of being a good negotiator, is you want to make them feel at ease. Mm-hmm. So if this is their first time, you want to make it not like you're interrogating them or you're interviewing them. You want to make it a conversation. That's one thing. Another thing is like people that have done the research or have been there before know what's going on. Yeah. Like I literally had a guy that was his first time at the Bunnyranch, but he had done a ton of research, and he was like, I read that you shouldn't haggle. And I was like, I like that. I appreciate that, because there are a lot of hagglers in the business. They'll like try to get you down to your very bare bone price of what you'll do for that activity. So that was really nice. But he did a lot of research in terms of like what he needed to do at the Bunnyranch. So he was prepared. He brought, the right amount of money for the experience that he wanted. And that's really hard to do actually with the research when it comes to that for a client, because you're not allowed to have prices online anywhere. Okay. It's considered solicitation. You can't talk about prices in email. You can't talk about prices over the phone. So these people that have never been are walking in blind, not knowing how much to bring. And a lot of the times, if they're bringing like $300 versus like $10,000, you're going to get shot down by certain people who don't do things for that activity for that price.
Right.
So that's an interesting part. So the negotiation aspect, the Bunnyranch doesn't teach you.
Okay.
So you kind of get thrown to the wolves.
Yeah.
If you don't succeed, that's your problem. There is a class or training that Alice Little, another brothel independent contractor, does with the girls. So she does give you tips and tricks. But at the same token, it's kind of a skill you have to hone on your own and learn. There are people there that I have met that are like, look, I go in and I say, this is what I want to do for this amount of money. What do you think? Because like they don't want to put that emotional labor into spending 10 minutes, 30 minutes trying to negotiate with someone. Well, you're actually only supposed to negotiate with for 15 according to the rules. But spending, that much time when in fact she just wants to get that experience done and get paid and go on to the next one. And there are other people that are more into the girlfriend experience that like taking that time to get to know your client and what they want is going to show them that you're interested in them. And so you're going to have a more girlfriend type experience than you would with just the wham bam thank you ma'am type of experience. So the negotiating that way does lead to a different type of client.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is really interesting. I wouldn't have actually thought this before we started having this conversation, but everything you're saying is really reminiscent to me of negotiating custom videos or phone sex experiences more so than I think other forms of sex work that I'm aware of. It's like really interesting. I didn't realize how much of a sort of negotiation process there was. I think that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, that is really interesting. I actually don't have a lot of experience with phone sex or custom negotiations. I've done it a few times, but not enough for me to make that comparison. But that's really cool that you're able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I've done a lot of customs and a lot of phone sex, and the way that you're talking is also the way that I like talk to my especially phone sex clients, because when you were saying like you don't want to feel like you're interrogating them or interviewing them, I spend a good half hour like asking them about their history, asking them like what sort of things they're interested in. Actually, I was thinking I should go to a brothel because I think I can do this.
You're like, I already have these skills.
I do this all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only difference is that with phone sex, in particular, you're getting paid for the negotiation, right? Which is not necessarily the case with brothel work or with custom work.
I'm like, let me ask every question I could possibly think of because it like runs the time. Right. I mean, I'm also interested. I shouldn't say that, but you do get paid per the minute for doing that.
Yeah, you do not get paid for a negotiation, and you can spend 15 minutes with this person and it just all walk out the door. Yeah. And then they go pick someone else.
Yeah. And I mean, because that's like real emotional labor too, delving into someone's fantasy. I mean, that is work.
Right. It is a lot of work. And it's interesting too because you can do the same thing via email. You just can't discuss prices. But it's frustrating because there's a lot of people that are doing it via email, but that just don't show up or don't do a deposit, or they're just jacking off to emailing you.
Yeah. I mean, I think that customs, that happens all the time. People are like, I want this sort of fantasy, but then they actually don't buy it because they get off on just telling you what they want.
Right. So for me, email is a little bit more difficult. I like it when people in my email, if any potential clients are listening, I like it when people email me with exactly what they want, when they want to come, and why they picked me or something of that nature. That way I can kind of get a sense of that they're serious. And then obviously put down a deposit because that really shows me that you're serious about seeing me, and that puts some weight on the email that you're sending me. But yeah, the other things that I've experienced at the Bunnyranch are the girls there. The girls there so far have been really nice. There's just been one little thing that I feel like this is total speculation. So when I go there, I make smoothies twice a day. That's part of like my routine. That's my breakfast and my lunch. And one day, after a client picked me instead of somebody else, the blender blades disappeared. So that was interesting. And then when I returned, the blender blades had reappeared for my next tour. Just seems like a little bit of a coincidence to me. But yeah, I haven't had anybody be directly rude to me, which is great. And then there's another girl that has been working there for 8 years that actually kind of took me under her wing and like has been like talking to me and helping me out and like helping me, like giving me advice. So that's been really, really great. I'm very thankful because I had actually received some advice that it would be kind of messy in terms of like girl relationships there. And I think, honestly, that had to do with the way the house was run before Dennis Haas passed away. Just the culture was a little bit different in the house. And now it's a little bit more calm. I think that people kind of are like, Madame Suzette is a very calm, very to the point lady. And she wants us all to act like ladies, so she doesn't put up with any bullshit, which is I really appreciate about her.
Is there like a diverse range of people who are working there in terms of bodies and ages and race?
That's a really good question. I feel like the Bunnyranch kind of has a stereotype of what the girls look like, not in terms of like hair color or height, because there's a variety of, there's a girl that's like 5'10" there, but she's like blonde, blue-eyed, fit body. I feel like we're all pretty similar in body type in terms of like we're all kind of either thin to fit. There's a girl there that has some, great titty and ass going on. And then there's girls there that they're just like, I don't know. So I guess there's a slight variety, but in the Bunnyranch, it's pretty conventional. There's, girls, there's women of color there. There's, at this point in time, there is no trans women, but there has been in the past. There's obviously no men. There can be. Men are totally allowed there. So if you guys want to, have some fun, come on over. But yeah, it's pretty conventional. I feel like if you look a certain way, you're actually going to get taken to another house. Okay. There are houses with certain body types or certain personality types. Bunnyranch is like a certain type of girl. It's a brand, right? It's a bunny brand. Yeah, it's not necessarily as diverse as I think I would like, but we're fitting into the microcosm of society and like what is attractive to society, and they want to feed into that because they want to feed into society's bullshit.
One of the things that I've learned in the sex industry is that there are people who are attracted to everything. Right. I guess that there's a way in which they understand that because there's other houses for curvier women or for older women or whatever. I don't know what the other houses are, but you would think that at this point in time, particularly in an age of body positivity, that there would be more integration.
Yeah, I wish there was. But the thing is it's also microcosm is similar of porn.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so they're still going with society's mainstream porn, I should specify. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They still have a hard time with diversity. They still have a hard time with different body sizes and shapes and heights, and because porn likes when you're cast as the teen, you're still cast as this tiny, skinny, short girl, and then if you're milfy, you have big boobs and you're tall. Yeah. So there's really no in between, and there's a lot of people of color are fighting for a space within the industry, and they get treated differently, and it's bullshit. So there are other parts of the sex industry that have just the same issues, and I do porn, so I am aware of that issue in that. So yeah, there are parts of the sex industry that are behind, but that's the great part about the customs and the camming and the other parts where they're people have a space, and I think that's really important.
Yeah, I was thinking that too, because it seems like back when there was real scarcity in terms of who could make porn, right? Porn was expensive to make, it was expensive to distribute. It sort of played to this lowest common denominator idea of beauty, this generic idea of beauty within society. But as soon as everyone could make and distribute porn, all of a sudden you got tremendous diversity. But still in the brothel scene, there's relative scarcity. There's not that many brothels,
I was thinking that strip clubs also are the same in the sense that most of the people who are working in strip clubs fall into a conventional beauty standard.
I mean, yes and no. Even within strip clubs, there are strip clubs that cater to different groups in society. There's, historically in a lot of cities, there are, strip clubs that cater to generic standards of beauty, and then there's strip clubs often focused on the black community within a city, and sometimes there are more working class strip clubs and more quote unquote high end strip clubs. So there is some diversity when you don't just have one, right? When you start to have a range, and I think similarly the brothel scene is still very highly regulated, and it's restricted to just one tiny area of the country. So I'm just thinking is that one of the consequences of like heavy-handed regulation or criminalization of sex work is that we lose diversity in representation of people or of bodies.
I'm actually interested in what like an average day is like. Do you all sit together and wait for people to come in? I know you said that some people are appointment only. If you're not appointment only, what does that look like?
Yeah, so we all have our own room that we stay in. So everyone has their own schedules, but typically they want you to do, if you're not from that city, they want you to do 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, or 3 weeks on, 1 week off, whatever. So while you're there, you get your own room and you get your own bathrooms. Some of the rooms share bathmates with the girl across the way, so it's like a Jack and Jill bathroom. So you share a toilet and a shower. So it's actually really funny because there was a situation where like both of our clients had to shower at the same time, and they were like waiting for each other so they can get their rocks off. It was pretty funny. You never really have clients interact like that, so that was kind of awkward for everyone, but it was also hilarious for me. But yeah, so you have your own room and you stay there, and you know, every girl's different. Every personality is different. Personally, I can't sit in my room for hours on end waiting for a client. I would go crazy. So I like to spend time in the common areas with the staff and with the girls and hang out. There's a lot of drinking at the Bunnyranch. You know, when you're bored and it's been 2 days since you've had a lineup, you know, you're probably going to have a drink to like take a load off and keep your mood up. That way, when a client does walk in the door, you're in a good mood. Obviously, there are girls there that don't drink, but it's a common culture there. And then smoking is allowed in the brothel, which bugs the shit out of me because I don't want emphysema just because you guys want to smoke. But so a lot of people will smoke while they're waiting. And we do random things too. Like the other day we played That's What She Said, which is like Cards Against Humanity but with sexual innuendos all together. So, you know, we play games together. We sit on the patio together and like hang out and smoke. The other girls smoke. I don't smoke. There's not really a culture of eating meals together in terms of like all at the same time, but like if there are girls in the kitchen, you'll sit together at the table and like eat a meal together. So that's good. I think there's a lot of, you know, like I said, I think the culture has changed where the girls hang out more and you're less feeling like a competitive atmosphere, which is really nice. So yeah, during your downtime, that's basically what I do. Every girl's different. Some girls are like in their room the whole time unless there's a lineup, and I'm like, I don't know how you do that. I would go crazy.
So what is a lineup? What does a lineup look like?
Oh, that's a good question. So a lineup looks like someone walks through the gate. They buzz the gate door. The staff opens, and only staff can open the door, by the way. No girls can. It's one of the rules. They open the door, and the client walks in, and they ask them if they would like a tour. And then if they do, the staff rings a bell, like over and over and over and over and over and over. So they're basically like finger fucking this bell button to get the girls out for like literally like 2 whole minutes. So I'm like, their fingers must be really tired. And the girls walk up into the foyer, and we all stand in a line, and we all have to be in the same pose with like your hands behind your back or in front of you, clasping your hands. You have to have one foot kind of propped and the other foot straight, looking forward. You can't really fidget. You're not allowed to talk during lineup because it's based purely on looks. So if you're talking back to the client, if he asks you a question or if he says hi back, you're putting yourself at an unfair advantage to another girl. So we go across the lineup from the left and introduce ourselves, saying, hi, I'm Alex Moore. Then it goes to the next person. And then the person at the end of the introduction picks one of the ladies. And then you go into the tour in terms of like going on the grounds, and you show them the property, and then you end the tour in your bedroom where you can start to negotiate. Okay. If you don't end up successfully negotiating with the client and you don't end up booking with them, then the client goes back to the common area, and the next girl can have her chance at talking to him. Or you can be like, hey, this is my friend so-and-so, you want to talk to her. Maybe she's more your speed in terms of activities or whatever. Mm-hmm. You try not to be like, okay, I'll see you later, bye. You know what I mean? You want them to stay and like have an experience. Right. You don't want to like push them out the door just because you didn't negotiate successfully with them. So that is one way that I think the girls foster community as well, because like we do want each other to book. You know what I mean? Yeah. That we do. We cheer each other on when we all book. And my personal saying is the best day in the brothel is when everybody has booked, because that brings the morale up of the house.
What have you learned from being there?
Oh, man. I have learned I have a lot of things to learn about negotiating. I'm still still learning about that. I'm not the greatest at it. I've learned that personally, I do well with structure, and so the Bunnyranch works for me in terms of a work setting because, like, I still am my own boss, but there's a structure set in place there in terms of, like, a shift. You know, your tour ends at this time and starts at this time. There are house rules, things like that. So I learned that, like, although I don't do well at doing an office job where people are telling me what to do, I also don't do well when I'm completely on my own. Yeah. So that's something that I learned about myself.
Yeah.
Another thing that I've learned at the Bunnyranch, other than, like, that I need to improve negotiation tactics, is that I feel like there's been, like, a stereotype. There is a stereotype of what clients of sex workers look like. And the Bunnyranch has proven to me that they are all walks of life, which is really cool. I think that everybody should hire a sex worker because it's amazing and you'll have the time of your life. And it just shows me that we can, give everyone a positive experience, whether they're married, whether they're not married, whether they're tall, short, blue collar, not blue collar. We get a huge variety of people, and that makes me happy. I definitely want everyone to feel comfortable hiring a sex worker. So that's something that I think that I learned about the Bunnyranch in terms of, like, anyone can come in. So you guys don't be scared.
So one thing we didn't cover is just the regulations for being at the Bunnyranch. Like, what are all of the things you have to do in order to work there? Can you give us kind of a rundown?
Yeah, totally. So in order to work there, we have to go to the sheriff's office and we give them our fingerprints and our background, and they run it. And then if you have had, I think it's drug charges or violent charges or a felony, I think, that you're not allowed to work there. I'm not 100% positive about the exact regulations on that. And then once you get your sheriff's card, is what it's called, which in the county that I'm in, that I work in, it lasts for the whole year. In some counties, you have to get it quarterly. So you're paying quarterly for something, which is an expense that the girls have. Once you get that, you go get tested by the doctor because you're cleared to work by the sheriff. So you have to go to the doctor and you do a vaginal exam for STDs, and then you do a blood test for other diseases such as HIV and hepatitis. You get the HIV test monthly, or if you've left for more than a few days, you have to redo it. And you get the hepatitis yearly, I believe, or maybe it's every 6 months. And then the vaginal exam is weekly. And once usually it takes about 24 hours for the turnaround for all the testing to come back. And once you're cleared, you're able to work. So yeah, that's kind of like the regulations. Oh, and all bodily fluids must be contained by a condom. So we use condoms for blowjobs and for sex. And if the girls feel comfortable, receiving oral, then a dental dam or saran wrap or a cut-up condom can do the job. And we also do dick checks before the guys come in. So once we negotiate with them, we check their dick. We swab them with alcohol baby wipe and check to see if there's any outbreaks. And then you check the inside of the dick to see if there's any weird discharge. This is a super sexy conversation, by the way.
Do they teach you how to do that?
Yeah, so they do, basically tell you how to do it. I think obviously doing it in real life is different from someone telling you how to do it.
For sure.
Yeah, I always joke with my clients that it's the sexiest part of their appointment. Make light of it, because some guys are like, you have to do what? It's a very clinical thing. Yeah. So yeah, we do that to keep ourselves safe. So, if someone has an outbreak, I'm not going to book with them. I can't. It's legally not allowed. And that keeps me safe. It keeps the other clients safe because, the clients aren't tested. And bodily fluids, like I said, are contained. So the odds of transmission are very, very low. So in terms of other transmission, like outbreaks and things like that, that's why we're doing that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's all kind of like the regulation side of it.
It sounds like the testing is similar, but not the same as with porn?
Yeah, so with porn, you're doing a urine sample. And with the brothel system, you're doing a swab, which is actually a little bit more accurate. and they can see if there's like, the great thing is like if you're starting to get a yeast infection or whatever, the doctor can be like, hey, things look a little weird in there, go take, some medicine. Whereas at the porn level, it's just a urine sample, so if there's anything going on, they can't really help you out in that sense. So that's helpful.
So one last question. You said you had worked in the porn industry in the past. How is working in brothels now compared to working in porn?
That's interesting. That's a really good question. So working in porn is much less emotional labor. So you're creating a fantasy on camera, right? And you're working with your scene partner, but you don't necessarily have to like your scene partner in order to create a really good scene. All you have to do is have great sex and enjoy your sex and, have good camera angles and all that shit. So that's the difference of like, you don't necessarily have to like your client at the brothel. That's not really what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is when you're creating chemistry with your client, it's going to make a much more amazing experience, and you're going to get repeat customers, and you're going to have a better time just yourself with brothel work versus porn. It's like you're just there on camera to create an experience for your fan rather than for the client. And your fan's not there.
Right.
So it's a different experience.
Because you don't have to make a scene partner feel good about the experience. It's like not your job to like make sure that they think that you're into it or anything like that.
Yeah, you're both professionals, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And the other thing is like the thing that's hard for me in the brothel system, which is kind of funny, is I love jizz. And I don't get any of that there. So like the porn industry is where I get the main, source of my jizz in my life. And I don't feel like I get enough of that.
That's really
Yeah,
funny.
that's interesting. So it kind of changes your experience of the sex, then having to use condoms and maybe not working with a professional.
Yeah, that's another thing is like not every client. No, I've worked with 2 virgins, like one virgin was amazing in bed and I was like, you're a fucking liar. You're not a virgin. And the other one like really didn't know what he was doing. And I had to teach him a lot of the way. And with porn, you're not teaching anybody anything. Like we've all know what we're doing very, very well. Yeah. So that's another huge distinct difference. And with porn, you're not really learning each other's bodies. I feel like with brothels, you're really getting to know each other's bodies in a very intimate way. And with porn, it's much more clinical. You're doing the positions that look good on camera, and it's not necessarily to feel good or to enjoy yourself, which I enjoy myself during every scene because I'm just a crazy hoe like that. But I'm like super orgasmic, so I think I come at least 4 times every fucking scene. And I usually come during like at least 4 times during my sessions with my clients at the brothels as well. I'm just very orgasmic. I'm a lucky gal.
It makes your job easier for sure.
Oh yeah. It makes my job incredible. But yeah, so that's a huge difference between the two.
Definitely appreciate your insight. I mean, talking to someone with this whole range of experience, I think is really, really interesting.
Yeah, I've actually done almost every type of sex work that there is. I've done phone sex. I've worked at a peep show, which is like super fun, which we didn't get a chance to talk about. But if you guys ever want to talk about it in the future, I'm so down. I love that shit. And I've stripped and I've cammed and I've done, full service sex work in many forms, and I've done porn. So yeah, I love it all.
What's been your favorite type of sex work?
I would say it's a tie between peep show work, porn, and brothel work. I love them all for different reasons. Peep show work is just like seedy and gross, and I love it. And like I get to watch guys jizz on the window at me, which is really hot. Like I said, I love jizz, and it's like a safe jizz because they're not tested, so it's like on the window, so I don't have to like, worry. With porn, I get all the jizz, and with brothel work, I really, honestly, like, okay, I probably shouldn't tell client stories, but I'm going to tell one.
Okay.
There was this man who's I believe he was in his 80s. And he didn't have, enough money to have like a full-on sex extravaganza. You kind of get what you pay for. But we had some mutual masturbation time, and then for about 5 minutes, and then he just wanted to cuddle and talk, And he told me, you know, you look how my wife looked when she was young, and she died 4 years ago, and I haven't been intimate with anyone since, and this is really powerful for me. And, you know, he gave me advice. He was like, you're young, you know, I want you to do well in your life. He was very sweet. And, you know, that's the kind of experience, like when you're doing full service sex work in any capacity, that you don't get with anything else. I mean, you can, but like when you're in the room with someone and they're telling you such deep things and it's such a powerful experience, like that really, like, you know, it's beautiful. And like, I love sex work because of that.
Yeah, it's really lovely. It's a good place to end. Where can people find you?
So my name is Alex Moore. It's spelled with one O, as in you want more of me. So my Twitter handle is Alex_Moore_XXX. My Instagram is morealexmore3. And my email at the Bunnyranch is alexmoore@bunnyranch.com. So you guys can more than welcome to send me an email. But yeah, I look forward to hearing about any questions that any of the listeners might have. I'm more than happy to answer any questions. And I've had a great time chatting with you guys.
Yeah,
Likewise, it was really fun.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us for yet another episode of the Peep Show podcast. I'm PJ Sage, and you can find me on Twitter @PeachSage.
And I'm Jessie Sage, and you can find me on Twitter @sapiotextual or @jessiesage.com.
We would like to remind you that we have a Patreon account and would appreciate your support. Please visit patreon.com/peepshowpodcast. Our music is courtesy of Joe Kennedy. The show was produced by Jessie and PJ Sage.
Signing off. Have a great week.